Page 4 of the Notice of Filing Child Support Guidelines worksheet continues to add in additional support obligation calculations based on whether the parents both exercise substantial time sharing, which is defined as at least 73 overnights in a calendar year. In Section 11, you must determine the increased basic obligation for each parent. In order to determine this, you must multiply the number on line 10 by the percentage on line 3A to determine the father's share of the basic child support obligation. Make sure that the number that you are calculating from line 3A is a decimal in order to ensure that you are calculating the correct amount. Once you have done this calculation, enter the answer on line 11A. Similarly, you must multiply the number on line 10 by the percentage on line 3B to determine the mother's share of the increased basic child support obligation. Once you have done this calculation, enter the answer on line 11B. In section 12 of the worksheet, you are going to calculate the percentage of overnights that each parent exercises with the minor child or children. If you know the exact number of overnights that the child or children spends with the father each year, put this number into the space provided in section 12. Using the number on the line above, multiply it by 100 and divide by 365. This number is the percentage of overnights that the father has in a calendar year. Put this number in line 12A. Similarly, once you have determined the number of overnights that the father has each year, you will be able to subtract that number from 365 and put that number into the space provided for overnight stays with the mother each year. Using the number that you put in for the mother, multiply it by 100 and divide by 365, and enter this number on line 12B. It is important that the numbers listed in subsection 12 for the number of overnight stays for the father and mother, the two numbers together must add up to 365. Similarly, the percentages in 12A and 12B added together must equal 100% to ensure that you are doing the correct calculations for the court. In section 13 of the guidelines worksheet, you are going to calculate the parent support multiplied by the other parent's percentage of overnights. In this case, to determine 13A, which is the father's support, you must multiply line 11A by line 12B and enter that number into 13A. To determine the amount for the mother's support multiplied by the other parent's percentage of overnights, you will have to multiply line 11B by line 12A and enter this number into 13B. In section 14 of the Child Support Guidelines worksheet, you will be listing additional support for health insurance, child care, and other additional support payments made. This is similar to the numbers that would have been entered in the other section for the basic obligation amount. So whatever the total monthly child care costs, which should not exceed the level required to provide quality care from a licensed source, you should put that number in for 14A. The total monthly cost for the child or children's health insurance must be put into line 14B. This amount should reflect what is actually paid for health insurance for the minor child or children, and not for any adults who may be covered under the same plan. If it is not clear what amount is set aside for the children specifically, you must look for additional information from your health insurance provider and put that number into 14B. 14C, you must determine the total monthly non-covered medical, dental, and prescription medication costs for the child or children. Since this is a number that can vary month to month, it is important to try and have the total amounts paid over the course of a year and divide that number by 12 to give you an estimate that is close to a monthly average. Once you've made this determination, put that number into 14C. Once you have 14A, B, and C determined and entered in, you will be able to total the monthly child care and health costs by adding 14A, 14B, and 14C together and putting that number in the space provided in 14D.